All right, people. You know what, right? Me and Ade do these Q&As regularly enough when we do Ade and G-Man, although it's, yeah, elephant in the room. Channel's not called G-Man anymore, elephant in the room. You know what, right? We're filming tomorrow and we haven't even talked about, right? We'll sort that, we'll figure that one out tomorrow. But it's been a while on here since I've done just the normal own Q&A. And I know I do lives and stuff like that, but mainly watch-alongs nowadays. But it's a good chance to just answer a few questions. You know, people get to know me a little bit more and stuff like that. And I specified to mention other sports like football, F1, etc. because I know a lot of people, since I changed the name, were saying, oh, you could have just kept, Liam Goff with boxing or something like that. But it's like, well, I don't want to be just the one sport. Boxing is my main sport, it's my favorite sport. I love it. Boxing is just, it means everything to me. But I love football, I love darts. I mean, I was going to record this earlier and then I was like, oh wait, hang on a minute. The race in Baku starts at 12 today, I can't miss that. So you get what I mean. So I was thinking of maybe, not saying I will or not, but I was thinking of maybe starting a members only on the channel, a bit like something that Ade does, and maybe just kind of test the water on the members channel. If I do, I'm not saying I will. I was thinking of maybe testing the water of doing maybe some vids talking about like maybe a review of a football match or a review of a race, or just talk about other sport news, MMA, stuff like that. Something that could come down the line. If I do, I'd make it members only because I wouldn't want to just dilute the boxing content. If you want to watch it, there you know how. So we're thinking of doing something like that, but that's a work in progress. Let's just leave it at that. In terms of the Q&A, in terms of the questions, right, I am going to try and keep this video under a half hour. I think some of the Q&As, well, me and Adam, when we do the Q&As, we try and get it in around that 20-minute mark. I'll go a little bit longer because I left this on for longer, so I have a lot more questions, to answer. So I'll try and get as many as I can in. I will try and get another one in. We might be doing, well, I don't know, I don't think we're doing a Q&A tomorrow. He hasn't mentioned it to me anyway. So we'll wait and see on that one. But let's go. Let's look at some of the questions you have here. First one is from AJM87. AJM87, he says, what's your favorite horror film? Now, I gotta be honest with you, right? I don't like horror films at all. And no, it's not because, oh my God, I don't like scary movies or anything like that. No, it doesn't bother me. It's more, I just find some of them crap. Now, saying that, right, I haven't seen maybe many of the really, really good ones, but the few horror movies I've seen, like Paranormal Activity, and there was the last horror movie I ever saw, I wouldn't even class it as officially, I think it is classed as a horror movie. This thing was just ridiculous. I mean, it was in 2015. It was a movie called Unfriended, right? And it was in 2015. Me and the boys, we went to the cinema in Swords, and one of the lads, he was managing the cinema at the time, so he let us bring cans of beer in, on a Friday night. We were in college at the time. We were in college at the time. So we went to see that, and it was a movie that was basically like, it's hard to even explain what it was. It was crap. I'd use stronger words, but I can't on here. It was crap. It was mainly done through Facebook Messenger. So like, they're all in like a Facebook group, and you just watch, this isn't the 1920s where we've got silent movies with subtitles, so we literally just sat there drinking cans. I think we were in college, so we were only drinking like Budweiser and Heineken back then. But yeah, that's what we ended up doing that Friday. We all left that cinema, we were all like, that was crap. Like, yeah, pretty much, it was crap. So I don't really have a favorite horror movie. There's just not a genre I really go to. I tend to like kind of action kind of movies, action adventure, some comedies, yeah. I'm more a fan of dark humor, to be honest with you, in case you can't tell. And yeah, I like kind of like historical set movies as well, the Bravehearts and stuff like that. They're more my type. And superhero movies. Well, some superhero movies. Nolan Dark Knight trilogy, or the Batman trilogy, really, that's on its own. Although I think that a lot of people give the Spider-Man movies, I think the Sam Raimi ones were very, very good. I enjoyed them. The third one wasn't the greatest, but Spider-Man 2, that's that era of superhero movies where you had Spider-Man by Sam Raimi and Christopher Nolan's Batman, where they were just Honestly, I know a lot of people love, the Robert Pattinson Batman. A lot of people love the new Spider-Man now. I don't think anything's going to touch those. That kind of run of about, we're really 12 years. Because Spider-Man 1 came out in 02, 01. Then I think it was 04. Oh yeah, it was 04 was the Spider-Man 2, and then 07 was 3. And then obviously you had the 7 years from 05 to 2012 of Christopher Nolan's. So that's that question. Done. Waza1350 says top 5 footballers of all time in order. And he calls me G, man. You can call me that. I don't mind. That's a tough one. Trying to be unbiased, I would say Messi number 1 for me. Pele number 2. Ronaldo number 3. Would I have Maradona in there? Maybe. Zidane, Figo, Luis Figo. I'm probably missing a few as well. There's so many good ones. I always look. Ronaldo will always be one of my favorite footballers, but I think Messi was just better. I think Messi is just. I think he's the GOAT. So that is what I'm gonna say Messi, Pele, Ronaldo, Zidane, Maradona. I know Ade will be killing me because I didn't mention Ronaldo, the other Ronaldo, because Ade thinks he is the GOAT. He was good. He was a good player. He was a good player in the day. But yeah, they're my top 5. Zach asks, what job have you had since you left school, and is there any plans to cover boxing full time? Yeah, man. It's one of the main reasons why I came over here, is to cover it full time, and we're getting closer. We're getting closer by the day, closer by the month. It's crazy when you start to meet people like who you like watch on TV and stuff like that, and they know you. It's like, wow, shit. There it is. I let one out. All right, but it is kind of crazy, as in a swear word. I was like, oh, wasn't expecting that. So it is nice. Jobs I've had since I left school, right? Well, when I was 18, I had my first real job, which was in a chemist, in a pharmacy back in Swords. I was there for nearly 2 years. Because I wanted to go back to school, but I wanted to make some money first. And then I went back to college, and I studied sport and fitness management. Yes. I knew from day one I was going to hate this course. Love fitness, love the gym. Knew from day one I was going to hate that course. And I did not like it at all, but I stuck it. I did it. Thinking maybe working in a gym would be a little bit more fun than learning about it. It was. So I did nearly about a year. No, it was over a year actually, when I think about it now, because it ended in 2016. Yeah, end of 2016. Well, say end kind of October time. So we did that for a year then, and it was good fun. Like, I enjoyed it. The gym I was working in was in a hotel. It was a hotel gym. So we had the gym, and then the change. Like, we basically had the gym and the spa, and spa was all girls, right next to us. So like the gym and the spa, we would always just kind of go on nights out together. It was good fun. They were wild. They were wild. But yeah, we had good fun doing that, and I did enjoy it. Like, I mean, I think for me, I knew at the time that was never going to be like my full time, thing, but I enjoyed it for the year I did it. It was really, really good fun. I enjoyed it, and I don't regret not doing it. I don't regret doing any of that. That was good fun. It was something that I said I'd give it a go. I tried it, and then I ended up just going into account management. I ended up getting my first office job in 2017. And then it's just been kind of then from there, I've started I actually started in account management, then I swapped into another role in the company I was in for a couple of years, and then I'm back to account managing. So yeah, not something I want to carry on doing long term, obviously, but it pays the bills. Okay, MH says 5 all-time favorite UK boxers, right? So favorite, so not best, favorite, right? Favorite UK boxers. We can class Lennox Lewis as UK, right? I know he's British Canadian, but we can class him as UK. So we're gonna say Lennox Lewis, definitely, right? AJ has to be on there. 5 favorite. Froch, loved Carl Froch. Carl Froch as a fighter he was fun. So we put Carl Froch in there. Bruno, I never really go back and watch much of Frank Bruno, to be honest with you. So don't know necessarily if I put Bruno there. David Haye has to actually. David Haye might be number one. David Haye might actually be number one, and Amir Khan. Just in just terms of entertainment, everything. I'm gonna put David Haye number one though as my favorite UK fighter because I loved David Haye when I was like a teenager, when I was in school, because that was when he was WBA champion, and I just loved David Haye. I really did. I just loved him so much. So yeah, David Haye would be that. Rex says, "What is the most exciting what if in boxing? Some examples would be Ike not going to prison, Mike managing to stay disciplined and hungry and staying with Rooney instead of going with Don King, Fury never going off track after the Klitschko fight." Big what ifs. They're all heavyweight what ifs you said there. Big what ifs. You got me there on that one. I mean, I think with Tyson, I think Tyson would have always lost even if he'd stayed disciplined and went with Kevin Rooney. I think people would have figured his style out maybe a little bit later than they did, but someone like a Holyfield would have always given him fits. So I don't know about that. Fury never going off the rails after the Klitschko fight. That would have been an interesting one. Yeah, it would actually. That's a big what if because Vladimir would have been better in the rematch because Vladimir only lost on points. He wasn't stopped, so that would have been an interesting rematch. And I think he would have picked up from where he left off in round 12, which is one of the only rounds that he definitely won in that fight. So that would have been an interesting one. Ike Ibuchi not going to prison. That would be an interesting one as well. Actually, that's a big what if. I wonder about what if Demetrius Andre had fought Billy Joe Saunders in 2018. We were meant to get that fight. What if Wilder had fought Povetkin in 2016? Do you remember that? They're two big what ifs. And that's not to say it was Wilder's fault, it wasn't, but you know what I mean. It was Billy Joe Saunders' fault actually in the Demetrius Andre fight. They're two big what ifs because we could have had a very different landscape in the heavyweight division. God knows what might have happened if Wilder had fought Povetkin. I always believed he probably would have won, but I don't know about that now. Like recently I've been like 2016 Povetkin versus 2016 Wilder. Yeah, maybe Povetkin probably would have done him. I always fancied Wilder in that fight, and people were like, but look what Spilka did. Yeah, Povetkin is not a southpaw, he doesn't fight like Spilka. But yeah, I'd say, I don't know, it's a tricky one, that one. Coogan, not Coogan Cassius, I hope. Do you do YouTube full-time? If not, what do you do for work? And would you like to do YouTube full-time if you're not already doing it? Well, I answered the work question already, account managing. In terms of YouTube full-time, I would love to do this full-time. I would absolutely love to do it full-time. I'm not in a position now where I can, unfortunately. YouTube is a very good source of income, very good. You know, I certainly am very grateful when I see the amount I make each month, and it varies from month to month. It's not like you're on a salary package. You get paid by what you do, and some months are obviously going to be better than others. But like I never have put it like this, right? I never have to touch when rent comes at the start of every month. I never have to touch my main work pay package. I never have to touch that. YouTube covers the rent, so make it out what you will. I'd love to do it full time someday. Like for me, I think the big goal would be to do, and I said it as well, and I've said it before. I would love to do something like Ariel Hawali. Just do a couple of lives a day, do my own vids, and then do a little bit of kind of freelance work now and again. That would be that would be amazing for me. I'd love that. That would be me, because I am someone who, I do like the stability of having a job, but at the same time, I just want to be me and do my own thing, So there's that. And apologies if you can hear, I actually had to put the wash on. So if you can hear that in the background, I have it on ready to wear, so it's kind of cooling them at the same time. I really can't even hear it, but I can. All right, James asks, what is the best trilogy fight you watched, and which fighters today could make a great trilogy? I want to see Lopez Cambosa's trilogy. Well, I certainly don't want to see that, mate. First fight was good. Only fight was good. yeah, look, Cambosis literally got the worst version of Teofimo Lopez that night. Let's not beat around the bush. He got the worst version of Teofimo Lopez you could imagine. And that's really what it is. Cambosis is not really, he's not all that. He just isn't. In terms of best trilogy, it's got to be Gatti Ward. For me, that is it in terms of trilogies. That was just phenomenal. It was amazing. It was just so damn good. Tot, is that how you say it? Who will be the first of you two to start a family? Who will be the first of you two to start a family? I assume you're meaning between me and Ade, which one of us is going to be the first to start a family. I would imagine it's going to be him. I think I'm still a bit off that. Yeah, I'd imagine it's going to be him. I would imagine that. But look, things, you never really know. Things with me are kind of, how would I put it? Yeah, things with me are a little bit all over the, well, I would say, no, I'm not going to say all over the place at the minute. It's a very interesting time. I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. That's, yeah, I'll leave it there. Ade knows about, like, the interesting time. So, that's all. He's all that needs to know. Boxing Bros UK, big up to you guys every single time. If you had to pick a fight for Terence Crawford, next for Terence Crawford, who would you choose? Maybe I'm selling him short, but I would say go down to middleweight and fight Lara. Just go beat Lara up, and because you beat him at this stage, and then become, what is that, sixth division world champion? Because you have middleweight then, so I would do that. Michael says, which football team do you support and who is your favourite player of all time? Easy one. Man United, 2-1. We beat Chelsea. I watched Rory Jennings' video on it and I was like, yeah, you did. We didn't play much better, to be fair, but we still won. Favourite player of all time? Ryan Giggs. It has to be Ryan Giggs. He was like, you had Beckham, you had Ronaldo. They all went. Ruud van Nistelrooy, they all went. Ryan Giggs was the man. James Hamilton says, fantasy matchup, Andre Ward, Joe Calzaghe, do you think it will be the same outcome, both 168 and 175? Or could one have the edge at super middle while the other prevails at light heavy? No, I think Ward wins at either weight. I do. I love Joe Calzaghe. He's actually, I should have put him as well in my favourite UK fighters. I might take Amir Khan out and put Joe Calzaghe in his place, because I love Joe. Actually, I'll take Carl Froch, because I actually did prefer Joe Calzaghe to Carl Froch. I do. But no, I think Ward is a more athletic, more awkward Bernard Hopkins, and that's a Bernard Hopkins who was well in his 40s. Yeah, I think Ward beats Calzaghe at either weight, to be honest with you. At either weight. Sombrero Hero. The names, man. These names are just, sometimes you see them and you're just like, I'd love to know what's going on in their minds. No offense, because they're just so creative. How hard do you think Crawford would have had it in the Four Kings era? He would thrive or survive if you could have a single division, thrive all their best fighters, or revive, I assume you mean, into the modern era, and have all duke it out. What division would be the king? Well, probably heavyweight. And in terms of Crawford, I'd have taken him over Duran. I'd have taken him over Hagler. Leonard, that would have been tricky. Thomas Hearns would have been a nightmare, because Crawford actually, I look at it stylistically and I just think that reach of Thomas Hearns, would be a nightmare for Crawford, but he is someone who can fight moving forward. You know, he is aggression. So I don't know. That's a really tough one, actually. That's a really tough one. I think he'd do well. I think he'd more than hold his own at the Four Kings, certainly. Benjamin asks, if you could pull any heavyweight from history to fight Usyk, who would make the fight most interesting? Probably Mike Tyson, to be honest with you. Mike Tyson or Lennox Lewis. Probably those two. Sinad Penn. Liam, I believe you box. Would love to see you and Ade doing some boxing training in the gym. That's a good shout, actually. Yeah, that would be. God, I haven't put a pair of gloves on since 2019. The end of 2019. It's the last time I put a pair of gloves on. It's crazy. Actually, the gym that's down the road from me there, they actually have heavy bags. Now, I have all my gloves back at home in Dublin, so I never bring them. I'm always thinking, should I just bring the gloves next time I come home and just bring them back over to London and start hitting the heavy bag again? Because I'm not going to do it. I don't think that. I think that's been and gone. You know, that's been and gone. I had my, I knew I could never do boxing. Not that I didn't want to do it. I enjoyed it, but I just never had I just don't think I ever had it. I loved the training, but it was just getting to the training. It was just like, oh, it's so much easier to go to the gym down the road than to drive 20, 30 minutes to Blanchardstown to train. I never had that dog in me, in that sense, you know, just to say, right, through hail, rain or snow, we're going to get it done. But then I'm the opposite with this, with YouTube, with boxing media, it's like through hail, rain or snow, I'm going to get it done. So it's just, I'm much happier doing this, me on the other side of the ring. And I think it's every bit as much fun. I love it. Eustace, thoughts on Nigel Farage? I don't have much to think of him. I don't think much of Nigel Farage, to be honest with you. He, along with Stammer, who's even worse, I'm not saying something, I just don't follow politics. I think that's what Farage will do if and when, because he's probably going to be Prime Minister, he probably won't pull back any of the policies that Labour brought in or the Tories brought in, and he might, I'm not even saying he will do good, but if he does anything good in one sense, he'll do something bad in another. That's what they do. It's ridiculous. It's just, you're sold this pitch of this guy is the savior and this guy is the same in America with Trump. It's like, nah, neither party is here to save you. They're not your friends. So I don't vote. I have never voted. I think it was Mark Twain who said, if your vote meant a damn, they'd never let you do it. So yeah, he's just another one of them. That's all he is, you know. He's just saying different things to the other guys, and people are thinking, oh, he's the savior and this, that, and the other. And, you know, it's weird, right? You see these people, right? And some of them aren't even atheists. They could be Christians, they could be whatever. But they always have this whole they always come after people who, you know, they say, oh, I put God first and this, that, and the other. And again, some of them are nominally Christians, right? And then they're saying stuff like, you know, because human beings, they just need someone to worship, so they worship God, and blah, blah, blah. People, it's like, you literally worship politicians. Like, I've seen people who, these people aren't Christian, they laugh at people like, you know, Christian Muslims saying, oh, you worship Allah, you worship God, oh my God, you people. But yet, these people literally worship Trump. They call him the savior. It's like, what? Like, what? But yet really? I mean, yeah, so I don't go down, I don't get into any of that nonsense, anything like that. If there's an election in the next year or so, I sure as hell won't be voting in it. Next we have Liam Payne, and I ain't for the love of God going to read the rest of that name because, oh my God. Liam Payne went something, right? What goals do you have other than YouTube and media? I thought you said what goals did you have other than YouTube and media? So you're talking about life goals. Well, I suppose I was going to say but that is media. So, okay, I was going to say, you know, do some real freelance work or some media work, but that again is media. So I wouldn't be answering it properly. Well, obviously I'm happy in London, but like my goal would be to get a house back in Ireland and back in Dublin preferably. Well, no, it will be, I'll say it back. It will be in Dublin. It'll be in my hometown. I'll just buy my house that I have at home. But I just buy it outright. So that's the plan. And obviously, yeah, someone asked about, you know, out of the two of us, me and Ade, who are going to have kids first. Well, Ade is definitely more than likely going to have kids before me. But that's the other goal. You know, I think that's something I prioritise probably the most, is to just meet someone, settle down, and just, there we go. Let's do that. That's the hope. And yeah, could happen. Let's hope. Let's wait and see. 4QQ, why do you like boxing and who got you into it? Okay. So, I love boxing for a variety of reasons. I just love I've always been a man's man. Like, I just prefer the company of males. I just love sport. I just love anything masculine. That's just the way, right? So boxing for me is like the ultimate. It's the ultimate. You know, you're in there, it's a fight. It's the closest thing you'll get to Roman gladiators in the Colosseum. It is. So I love it for that reason. My best friend used to play me clips of Muhammad Ali, not even boxing, just him trash talking. So Ali had just like an aura about him and a charisma that was just unmatched. So I watched his interviews and then I watched his fights, and then it was just like the floodgates opened. It was like I was boxing mad at that point. My friend, I owe him a lot because he didn't have to show. He would literally be like, have you seen this video? If he didn't do that, I probably would have always found boxing, but maybe I wouldn't have. Well, I say I probably would have. Who knows? God only knows what would have happened. But yeah, that's how it got me into it. TJG says, F1 you say, who's your favourite team driver? Would love to know. Max Verstappen, Red Bull. Winner again today. Man, he can still win this championship. He can still win this championship. Okay, next one is from Chili Beef. And he says, country you would most like to visit. Shout out to Chili Beef. He's over there in Japan on his vacation, on his trips over there. It looks amazing. You know what? Japan is not a country, though, that has really been on my list. Although if I got the chance to go, I certainly would. I would love to go to Mexico, to Tulum on the Yucatan Peninsula and see, I think that's Mayan. They're Mayan structures. I'd love to go there. I'd also love, where else would I love to go? Where else would I love to go? That's the main one. I'd love to go on a cruise around the Caribbean, but that's not really a country, but I'm going to say Mexico is number one right now, but that's subject to change, right? So we get a few more of these questions in. We're probably going to get another 2 or 3 more in, and then we'll call it a wrap, because the time gaps are me checking the timer to see kind of where we're at, and I think we're just shy of the half-hour mark right now, so we'll get this one over. So Benny Stack says, oh dear. Benny Stack says, do you think Tyson Fury's real name is Luke Partridge? Do you know what? Like, we can all have our opinion on Tyson Fury, but I don't think even his biggest hater would want him to have the name Luke Partridge. That's just... I feel sorry for anyone who does have that name, Luke Partridge, because it's not the names. It's like, Luke is a fine name. Partridge is a real British name, but there's nothing wrong with it. But just combining those two together, honest to God, combining those two together, it just makes it so funny. And I've always said this, right? And that's something some people would say it's a bit harsh, but I've always done it, and I've always felt that, and other people have actually said, like, it does actually work when you have someone who, say, is like a horrible boss, or, you know, your mate is dating an absolute, cow, right? And, you're not going to say it to them directly, right? But you just come up with a funny nickname for them. I had an old boss. She was an absolute nightmare. She was a nightmare, right? And she was, on the heavy side. So her name began with a H, so I used to call her Heavy H. Not to her face, obviously, but everywhere else. And people used to say, like, it used to just knock the energy clean out of her. Not in terms of, her hearing it, but it was just like they see her, that's Heavy H. And she was heavy. So I think that there is something to just calling someone Tyson Fury Luke Partridge. It just makes you laugh. It just takes he could be serious, having a stare down with you when the name Luke Partridge comes into your mind, you're giggling, There's someone I know back home where I'm always addressing someone she knows as shit. All right, well, I've already said it. Shit stain, right? Because, a shit stain on life. So, that, but it does help. It actually helps, because you hear that, you associate that name with them, and it just takes the energy out, no matter what. It's like, once that name Luke Partridge comes into your head, you're just giggling. And the combination of Luke and Partridge is just hilarious. When I was in school, there was a guy in my class in school, and he wasn't called Luke Partridge, right? But I'm not going to say what his name was, but the first name and the surname weren't that bad, but combining them just made it hilarious. It was a funny name, right? It was a funny name. And more so because we had teachers, a lot of them were from like other parts of Ireland, so a lot of them had accents on it. When they do the reg, like roll call, they would say it, like they'd say his full name, and it helped that he was an absolute Peter and Rick. He wasn't a nice person. He really wasn't. He wasn't nice to anybody. He just had a horrible attitude to him. I remember him well. And it was like that because he just took the power out of it. You know, just as soon as you hear the name, you just giggled. And it was funny. I remember we had an oral examination, right? And it was basically, it was in French, right? We had to learn French, and you had to basically have a conversation, a 2-minute conversation in French. They recorded it, but because like we're in Swords and yeah, it's not a big secondary school, we had to do it all in the classroom together. And what the teacher did was she had to say your name. So she'd say like, now examining Luke Partridge. I should say the name. Everyone in the class had to be quiet because it picked up on all the noise, right? So when it took her like 5 takes to get this guy done, because she'd like hit it, I'm now recording name, and we'd all just start laughing because it was just hilarious. Honestly, it was just hilarious. So if his name is Luke Partridge, I mean, I'm hoping he has already changed it. I'm assuming he has, because you want to get that changed pretty damn quick, because yeah, I just think you can't, like, I'm looking at this comment here, and it's just Tyson Fury, yes. Luke Partridge, no. So there's that. People, I am going to apologize profusely for the questions I've missed, but as I said, I don't want this video to go on too long. I have to do a review of the week as well, so I want to just get as much in as I can today. And yeah, so I'm going to leave that there. I enjoyed this. I actually enjoyed this, so we will get another Q&A in soon. All right, I'm not going to say it's going to be next week or anything like that, but it will be soon. I promise that. And this is going to go out today. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. You learn anything new? Anything that you didn't already know? Let me know. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already.